Welcome to Sunday morning, the morning after the night that was. Good to be with you at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. Welcome to another game day for the Montreal Canadiens, who, after opening up to Toronto in a 3-0 lead, end up losing in a 7-3 meltdown. We'll get into the nuts and bolts of the hows and whys. The Montreal Canadiens lose in regulation for the first time since early January. But boy, did it look good for a hot minute. Of course, we'll get all your reaction to what's going on in the chat line here, as already some early comments are starting to come in. And the question I threw out there to get things going today is pretty simple. It was 3-0. What the heck happened? Give me your best overreaction. So we'll be jumping into the chat throughout the course of the live stream. Don't forget, as always, the Montreal Canadiens in what happened yesterday as we take a quick look at the out-of-town scoreboard, where the Boston Bruins and Ottawa Senators were involved in a little bit of a slugfest, with Ottawa blowing a lead and then Boston taking the lead and then Ottawa recapturing it and then taking it in a shootout in a 6-5 final. The Florida Panthers win. It looked like they had found some inconsistencies with only 5 wins in their last 10, but the Toronto Maple Leafs now with 60 points and 7 wins in their last 10 games. The Columbus Blue Jackets lost a hockey game. That's a rare thing. So as it stands right now, good morning, Columbus and Ottawa, your top 2 wildcard teams in the NHL's Eastern Conference. The Montreal Canadiens, with 45 games played, play a 7 o'clock game against the visiting New York Rangers at the Bell Center tonight. You can listen to it, as always, on your home for the Montreal Canadiens, TSN 690. The Rangers have now won back-to-back. They are 6-2-2 in their last 10 and are coming off a 1-0 shutout win on Saturday night. So it looks as though in the here and now that the Montreal Canadiens are getting the New York Rangers at the wrong time, when we all thought that Peter Laviolette was on just a dead man coaching and not so fast. So we'll get to lots of reaction from the out-of-town scoreboard, your comments on this Sunday morning, as we say good morning, roll call style, your overreactions to the Montreal Canadiens losing a 7-3 final when they had a 3-0 lead, when it seemed like Montreal was going guns a-blazing. So let's get going. Audio Murphy, growing pains, but also send them all to Laval. Stinger says, Nick, good morning, Rick. Good morning, Brad Wright. I've been waiting for you, Bradley. I've been waiting for you, Bradley. You're a good man, Brad. Lots of respect for jumping on the chat nice and early this morning. And look, it's not personal. It was just to read, and every now and again, I struck gold, and I did yesterday, and I will have more NFL picks at the tail end of this stream, so if you're here for that, you're going to have to wait a minute. If not, you can leave and come back later. But yeah, I had the Washington Commanders pulling off the upset over the number 1 seeded Detroit Lions. I'd like Washington to win the game outright. Go to my YouTube channel, find Saturday's live stream around the Toronto Maple Leafs. At the tail end of that, you will find my NFL picks, where I told you to take the points with the Houston Texans, 9.5 of them. There's a winner. And the Washington Commanders, take the 8.5 points or pick them to win the game outright, and they did. Your comments. So mad respect to Brad, who didn't tuck tail and hide. Here he is this morning. He owes me a pint. We had a little friendly wager yesterday. So yeah, that sucks. I feel for. Listen, I mean, we're not here to kick anybody when they're down. Certainly, whether it's the National Hockey League, whether it's the NFL, it doesn't matter. Long-suffering Detroit Lion fans, the sufferings, I'm afraid to say, continues. So. Charlottetown Spud, good morning, Charlottetown. Way to play up to your provincial reputation by dropping in the Spud reference in your nickname. I certainly appreciate that. Take some deep breaths, everyone. Thank you, Charlottetown Spud. Thank you, Charlottetown Spud. I do agree. It was kind of frustrating. My perspective on the 3-0 loss, the 3-0 lead that turned into a 7-3 loss. A few things happened here, okay? And I will get critical of the Canadiens' loss in a second, because there were 2 things in that loss that I hope that the Canadiens learn from when they go back and they look at the tape, because they're not going to practice today, obviously. The Canadiens will meet the media at 4:30 on Sunday, because they're playing the Rangers at 7 o'clock on TSN 690. But what happened at the Bell Center last night, when Patrick Laine scored his 10th power play goal after Austin Matthews gets the first career Double minor. Austin Matthews had never been tagged with a double minor in his career until he ran into the Bell Center last night. So Matthews is in the box. And Patrick Laine scores his 10th power play goal of the year, right? He's on 11 goals. And he does the, give it to me, Montreal. The roof has been blown off the building. It's 2-0 Montreal. 9 seconds later, Josh Anderson scores with that burst of speed. He goes right by Max Domi, goes by Joseph Wall, and it's 3-0 Montreal. Everybody's laughing. I can't wait for today's live stream because I think the Canadiens are going to romp the Toronto Maple Leafs. And then the odds show up on the screen. The odds, because now we're inundated with gambling advertising, right? So when Montreal's up 3-0, they show on the CBC, they show on the screen what the odds are, in-game odds. The Montreal Canadiens, when up 3-0, were minus 1,200. The Toronto Maple Leafs were plus 675. If those terms are weird sounding to you, what does that mean? Minus 1,200. What does that mean? Plus 670. What's he talking about? Well, minus 1,200 basically means you would need to risk $1,200 to win 100. And the opposite. You can risk putting $100 to win 675 at plus 675, right? So that as quickly as I can explain those odds and what those odds mean, right? And nobody in their right mind, unless you're laundering money, would ever risk $1,200 of your dollars to win a measly $100, right? If you have $1,200 to gamble, you don't give a bleep about the value of $100. Nobody in their right mind would ever make that bet. It makes absurd sense. In no world does it exist to bet smartly at minus 1,200, right? But that's how heavily favored the Montreal Canadiens were in that game. You're up 3-0. Montreal is 14-1 this season. The Canadiens were 14-1, protecting the lead after 40 minutes. And this is where I think I'm going to get critical of what I didn't like from the Montreal Canadiens. Because on the positive side, they were all over the ice. Cole Caulfield, I thought, was the best player on the Montreal Canadiens. And even the depth guys, I thought Yoel Armia, Jake Evans, they were engaged. Josh Anderson, obviously engaged. Nick Suzuki, very much in the mix. Patrick Laine, Kirby Dach again on a beautiful goal to get the night going in Montreal. So there were a lot of positives. They generated a boatload of chances. Like, realistically, Montreal could have been up easily 5-0 after 20 yesterday. Coulda, shoulda, woulda, right? Ifs and buts. We're candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. But in the hypothetical, in the law of averages, I think if you repeat that first period 10 times, I think Montreal, yes, has a 3-4-0 lead in the law of averages, okay? And so they're feeling good. The vibe is obviously exceptional. The building is loud. Your favorite players are scoring goals. The Canadiens are the best team in hockey. Bob's your uncle. Can do no wrong. Can do no wrong. This is where the criticism for me comes in, okay? I don't know how comfortable Montreal is up 3-0. They're not, right? Montreal, to the point where they got to 11-2-1, getting national acclaim, the most points in hockey in the calendar month, getting all this love. And don't mishear me. I'm not saying the Canadiens were ego tripping and confident and swagging and all that. No, I'm not saying that. I still think they're a humble group. But Montreal is at their best, in my opinion, when they need to play tight games. And when they jumped out to a 3-0 lead, to me, it looked obvious. Montreal slowed right down. And Toronto was first on the puck. When a Montreal Canadien, whether it was in their own end, in Toronto's end, I thought they were way too casual when they were battling. They looked too casual, too slow in their decision-making, okay? And I say this knowing I watched the game just as you did, that Joseph Wall was a wall. He made unbelievable saves multiple times in that hockey game, okay? So I'm not here killing the Canadiens because I think in a law of average situation again, I think if Montreal goes out and plays that same kind of game, I'm not so sure they get smoked 7-3. I don't know if Joseph Wall can do what he did again and again and again, is what I'm saying. That's how good I thought Joseph Wall was, and I'm giving a lot of credit to the Montreal Canadiens. Cole Caulfield, I loved his game yesterday, But Mike Matheson, too, I loved his game yesterday. And Christian Dvorak, ringy-dingy off the post. And they had their chances. Joseph Wall was a significant reason why Montreal couldn't get that fourth goal. It's why Montreal couldn't get any breathing room. They had their chances. There was a little bit of a goalie element, I thought, yesterday. So at times, I thought Montreal looked uncomfortable with the 3-0 lead. I think, in my opinion, that kind of explains why they coughed it up, and the momentum was never able to be recaptured at the Bell Center from a Montreal side of things. And I wasn't the biggest fan of Martin St. Louis on Saturday night, And I'm not saying a timeout. I'm not here to talk about timeouts. Timeouts doesn't change the equation. But to me, when I see Toronto realizing, Toronto's got the horses, man. Like, let's be real. Toronto has the horses, and they decided in Toronto last night they were going to load up. And it was Matthews and Nylander and Marner and McMahon again and again and again and again. And Montreal had no answer. Why? Because, again, I thought they were a little too slow. A little too slow in processing. A little too slow in reacting when Toronto was on them. And Toronto never let up. And credit to the Maple Leafs. They came to the Bell Center like they did against New Jersey. Down 3-0 in a hostile environment. Austin Matthews getting booed every time he touches the puck. Max Pacioretty getting booed every time he touches the puck. Doc scoring. Lining on the power play. Josh Anderson breakaway goals. Like, the Canadiens hit all their markers to generate momentum. But what happened last night? Why did they lose that game? To me, it was a combination of lack of in-game reaction from the Canadiens bench. Martin St. Louis chewing his gum, leaning on the thing like this. A little bit more engagement there. And Joseph Wall was unbelievable. Yesterday. What's your reaction? Let's get to your comments. I think I've ranted enough. Let's get to your comments this morning. Happy Sunday, you guys. Thanks for being with me today. Matt Morneau in the chat this morning. Every time I see them live, they get blown out. I'm sorry. I feel personally responsible for this run of good games coming to an end. Again, Matt, it ain't personal, Playboy. The Canadiens got a little goalied by Joseph Wall yesterday. And they learned that, that's one thing I'm confident in. The Canadiens have shown me enough where I'm confident where I can express my opinion this way, that watch Montreal. Montreal's going to play a much better game against the New York Rangers tonight because they've shown that they can adapt. So I'm not putting it on you, Matt. If they lose tonight, maybe I'll put it on you. Scott Struthers, caught in a fragile evening, but still on the right track. Go, Habs, go. I agree. 3-1 Habs today, says Charlottetown Spud. Book it. Habs and Rangers at 7 o'clock on TSN 690. Goals against don't lie, says Nick. There's a clear contrast here between our two goaltenders. So what Nick is more or less saying is, welcome to the start of goalie controversy time, to which I will say, I will put up a Yaroslav Halak stop sign. No. I don't think we're at goalie controversy time now. And listen, I know the numbers. I know the numbers just as much as you do. I really do, okay? And if you're unaware, let's put it up on the screen now, okay? Let's talk about Montreal Canadiens goaltending stats. Here they are, the Montreal Canadiens goaltending stats for this season. And what Nick is saying is obvious, right? Here, I'll highlight this. .897 save percentage for Sam Montembeault to go with a highlighted 2.98 goals against average. We go down to Jakub Dobeš here, and 0.98 goals against, and a sterling .963 save percentage. Brilliant numbers. Everybody and their sister who's watched Canadiens hockey understands that Jakub Dobeš is having a moment. What about this number, though? Here, 35. What about this number right here? 4. 35 to 4. So for basically, almost every 9 games Sam Montembeault plays, Jakub Dobeš plays 1 game. Jakub Dobeš has been scored on 4 times in 4 games. I understand. I watch the games. You watch the games. I know who he's beaten. I know how he looks. And if you're a regular viewer to this channel, thank you. Secondly, I would have gone with Jakub Dobeš Saturday night against the Toronto Maple Leafs because I believe this kid has a little bit of Patrick Roy swag in his attitude after games, and I am here for it, okay? But the Canadiens saw it differently. They wanted Montembeault on Saturday night, and they wanted Jakub Dobeš against the Dallas Stars on Thursday. And they, obviously they win the game on Thursday and lose the game on Saturday. But realistically, everybody, are we sitting here and one of the takeaways is Sam Montembeault is the reason the Canadiens lost that game against Toronto? I don't think so. I don't think I'm blaming solely Sam Montembeault. Yes, I mean, he didn't look great. But again, let's keep our feet on the ground here. Like, did we think Sam Montembeault and Jakub Dobeš is like, are you saying Jakub Dobeš is going to win every game he plays? So I'm not here to tell you that I don't think we are in goalie controversy territory today. I don't. And when I look at the Montreal Canadiens schedule, and I see obviously what's coming up for Montreal, and let's transition over quickly here. Let's take a look at the Canadian schedule, coming off that ugly 7-3 loss. And they had not lost a regulation game since they lost to Chicago in a 4-2 final back on January 3rd. So they went 2 weeks and a day between regulation time losses. And obviously tonight, 7 o'clock Rangers. And then they've got a bunch of home games before they go to California. So you've got Rangers, Lightning, Devils, Jets, Minnesota. All coming up before they leave for Anaheim, San Jose, and Los Angeles. But again, look at this bleeping schedule. Rangers, Lightning, Red Wings, Devils, Jets, Wild. Holy shnikes. Holy shnikes. What an absolute juggernaut gauntlet of a schedule again for the Montreal Canadiens. It is still Sam Montembeault's net for me. It is. And I am not blaming Sam Montembeault for the Canadiens' collapse. They were up 3-0. They should have won that game all day and twice on Sunday, but that's not the reality. Back to the chat. Thank you so much for being with us on Sunday morning. Good morning. Charles says the Canadiens need a bounce-back game tonight. It's important for their progress. Blowing the 3-goal lead will be a good lesson learned for the younger players. Don't forget, they played the division leaders. Thank you for that comment, Charles, and you're right. I mean, the Toronto Maple Leafs are a juggernaut. Toronto Maple Leafs are an excellent team, and they are fast. Mitch Marner, when I was watching Mitch Marner last night, who Mitch Marner reminded me of? Lane Hudson. He's like the Lane Hudson of forwards. He is so good. His vision is exceptional. Passing, attitude-wise, from a distant perspective, I'm not the biggest fan of Marner's attitude from a very, again, far-away perspective, but Mitch Marner is an absolute joy to watch play hockey. Mitch Marner is a special player. And Toronto's an excellent hockey team. And like I mentioned on Saturday's live stream, to me, I see a little bit of a narrative change in Toronto. It's almost like they're morphing into a goalie kind of team. And Joseph Woll was brilliant yesterday. More comments coming in today. Thank you, by the way. As you can see some of these highlighted members here, like Aces Cafe, highlighted in green. That's a member of the Shaun Starr Show as the family in this Shaun Starr Show community continues to grow. And by the way, thank you, everybody, for all your generosity with the tips yesterday in the live chat. As you saw that, when you go and you put your message in, just to the right of that little happy face, you can see a little dollar sign there. So people on the live stream proudly supporting the Shaun Starr Show, and I thank you for doing that. I certainly appreciate it. It makes this investment all worthwhile. But yeah, the Canadiens needed a little bit of a reality check. It says, okay being last. A bump in the road, let's not panic. They have bounced back, and I think that is a key comment. That is an absolute key comment. The Canadiens again and again and again for the better part of 8 weeks have shown their ability to bounce back and bounce back with strength. So nobody here, I am certainly not leading the front on the panic parade. No, it was a bump in the road, as okay being last is commented on this morning. Paul says they stopped driving play. They sat back after going up 3-0, and then came the penalties. And yes, penalties are a problem. The lack of discipline, the Canadiens are one of the most penalized teams in the National Hockey League, and it's been an issue in Dallas, an issue at the Bell Center again on Saturday, and we can't blame Michael Pezzetta. But this is, why I made the comment I made at the beginning when I talked about how I believe Montreal is not very comfortable in these 3-0 kind of hockey games, because if we've watched some of the patterns that they've developed here, they like chipping it off the glass. They like playing a quick transition game, and they like shutting it down. And I'm okay with them learning a lesson from this game, but I'm not okay if they blow it again. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, bump in the road. I'm with that casual perspective, but I am not here for the repetitiveness of that casualness. And, a few of you are right. Like, I agree. The Canadiens stopped playing because they weren't. Last night to me was new territory for a team learning, a team rebuilding. So I'm very much here for the bump in the road kind of perspective. So let's see what the bounce back is against the Rangers at 7 o'clock tonight. Charles, the Canadiens have rarely been in the position of having such a big lead. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So now they know how to, or learning the lessons the hard way of learning to protect these big leads. Audio Murphy says, no big deal, a bump in the road. Mark says, this was a painful but much needed lesson for a younger team. That was tough. I'm not going to lie. I thought the Canes were going to smoke the Toronto Maple Leafs yesterday. I was all excited to come on the stream this morning, and talk about Montreal romping the Toronto Maple Leafs. Here we go. But, yeah, can't get what you want all the time, even if you are an only child. And I see some comments on the Michael Pezzetta situation. As Michael Pezzetta, again, I really like his game in the sense of I like him as I like Michael Pezzetta as a teammate, but it was another 2 minutes and 58-second game for Michael Pezzetta, for Martin St. Louis. And when you look at his game log, and yeah, he doesn't play a lot of hockey, but 4.5 minutes is the most ice time Pezzetta has gotten in the last 5 games, and it came Thursday against Dallas, where he took a penalty. He didn't get penalized yesterday, but it's surprising to me that the Montreal Canadiens did not call anybody up. I thought after Emil Heineman got hit by a car on Monday in Utah and was out 3 to 4 weeks, the fear there is he broke his wrist, that by Friday, when the Canadiens got home to play the Leafs on Saturday and the Rangers Sunday, by then somebody would have been called up, because the Rocket played and won on Friday night and then lost to Utica. So they split the home and home with the Comets. And Caden Primo picks up the win Friday. Connor Hughes in goal for Pascal Vincent's Rocket team on Saturday in a game in which they lose. And Joshua Roy gets hurt. Owen Beck is having a moment. He's on 9 goals. Jared Davidson is playing very, very well. And I thought for sure somebody was going to get a call up. But, in the here and now, the Canadiens won't speak until 4:30 this afternoon, 2.5 hours before game time. And the Laval Rocket play Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday to start a week. So I was very surprised that the Canadiens didn't make a move. There are a lot of guys that in the Laval, from Joshua Roy to Owen Beck to Jared Davidson, that have been playing very, very well and consistently well for a Rocket team that right there with Rochester and Cleveland, it's a 3-horse race in the North Division in the American Hockey League. So I was very surprised that Montreal didn't call anybody up. I don't agree with it at all. I think they should have definitely called somebody up. And that's the thing. Paul says here, Joseph Woll outplayed Montembeault big time. For sure. Canadians got a little bit of a goalie situation there yesterday. We need to get rid of Montembeault. He's unreliable. It's his fault we lost. Okay. You see what you see. Your brain tells you what it tells you. I don't know what to tell you. I don't believe Sam Montembeault should wear the horns for losing 7-3 to Toronto. Like, what happened to the guys in front of him? Like, Sam Montembeault was making some pretty acrobatic stops. He was just out-goalied by the guy 200 feet away from him. I just don't see it that way. But that's how you see it. Aces Cafe, good morning. I hope everyone is having a great day. Go Habs, go. It's game day. Angela Esposito, Toronto won last night because of Joseph Woll. I also think Montembeault didn't have a great game. Marty should have called a timeout when Toronto tied the game. Go Habs, go, says Angela. And I know, timeouts, you get one, you don't use it, everybody wants you to use it. But to me, that's where I thought Martin St. Louis' inexperience showed up a little bit. Just a little bit, and I'm not saying a timeout changes the course of that hockey game. No, it's not what I'm saying, but changing some of your pairings, reading the momentum in game, whereas Craig Berube on the other side loaded up with his horses, and those horses made him look smart yesterday. Matt Morneau. Matt Morneau's going back to the game tonight, everybody. Matt Morneau blames himself for the Canadiens losing, and right now, Matt Morneau says he's going to the Rangers game today. Matt, I hate to tell you this. Matty. If the Canadiens lose to the Rangers today, we're coming for you, baby. I'm kidding, of course. A little bit of Monty hate here. I'm just not buying it. I am just not buying the Monty hate. I don't believe Sam Montembeault was the reason the Canadiens lost that hockey game yesterday. Charles, a brand new member of the Shaun Starr Club. Thank you, Charles. As you can see here, Charles's comment is highlighted in green at the bottom of this chat. So thank you. Appreciate and looking forward to that. Don't forget, members of the Shaun Starr Club. Get all my stuff 24 hours in advance. You get an early peek and you get to react like Ace's Cafe does. Monty needs to control that last slide. Listen, again, I'm not saying Montembeault was perfect, but I am here. If you guys are going to pile on, I will defend Sam Montembeault for that performance because of the performance of the guys in front of him yesterday. Let me repeat myself. They are not. I don't think the Canadiens are comfortable with a 3-0 lead. To me, it showed. I thought Martin St. Louis got out-coached, and I thought the team got outplayed by better players. Montreal has shown us in the last month, certainly, that they are much better in tighter games where they can chip it out, play aggressive hockey, body check, play with that attitude, and then when they're jumping out to a 3-0, you're like, oh, crap, what do we do? How do we defend a 3-0 lead? What do we do now? Well, you learn lessons, and that, my friends, was a lesson. Recliner Sports, good morning. Good to see you back. Charles, pleasure, Sean. I live in Glasgow. That's awesome. One day I will get to beautiful Scotland. One day I will get to beautiful Scotland, and I will play at the home of golf, and I hope, my friend Charles, we will get together. The Shaun Starr Club, lots of glitter. No glam, lots of glitter. Steph Howard, good morning. My bold take was half right yesterday with the Commanders winning. My hatred for the Chiefs steered me wrong. More NFL picks as I gave you the Washington Commanders, maybe inspired by my pal Steph Howard in the chat yesterday. Steph Howard gave you the Washington Commanders. I, too, gave you the Washington Commanders to win that game in a game that went over 55.5 points. So if you tailed my NFL picks at the end of Saturday's stream, oh, yes, we gave you winners. That's how we roll on the Shaun Starr Show. So let's get going with more of your comments. I don't want to miss anybody. Sparta says, we didn't have an awful game. The players' hopes were drained when Monty couldn't save for his life. And after the third goal, when they just lost life and stopped trying, so it's really Monty's fault. Sparta's really on the anti-Monty train. We could talk about the giveaways. We could talk about the lack of discipline in the hockey game for the Montreal Canadiens yesterday. But listen, for some people, when they have made up their minds, they really have made up their minds. And in the minds of Sparta, the Montreal Canadiens lost that hockey game because they didn't start Jakub Dobeš. It's game day. Habs and Rangers at 7 o'clock live on TSN 690. Ace's Cafe. All will be fine. Thank you, brother. Love you, Aces. Okay being last. If Cole Caulfield can take 10 shots and not score, Monty goes to try to stop a puck and can't. What is the difference? As we saw yesterday, Cole Caulfield, the best player on the Montreal Canadiens, in my opinion. All over the place. John believes you're up 3 goals. That should have been a tie at the very least. There was part of me thinking, and it just, to me, I choose to believe it proves my point. How Montreal started the second and the third period, I thought they were going to come out with a ton of jam. And Christian Dvorak hitting the crossbar there sucks, no doubt. It does. But let's also remember that on the other side, the Montreal Canadiens normally start with a ton of jam. Toronto just had more of it Toronto obviously is a much better, deeper, more talented team. And that was a tough one for the Montreal Canadiens. But I will stand. I have decided this is the hill I'm dying on today. That was not Sam Montembeault's fault. Thank you, everybody. As the Charlottetown Spud, welcome to the Shaun Starr Show. Proud new member of the Shaun Starr community. We appreciate that. As we, that's also, if I could just mention this quickly here, it's something I'm trying to build in terms of generating a positive community where there is room in the discourse. There is room for the discourse on good banter, good, healthy debate while staying respectful. As you can see here in the chat, Sparta, fine, Shaun, I'll relax on Monty, right? And look, I love when you comment. I'm not here looking for an echo chamber. If you believe Sam Montembeault was the reason why, express yourself in a respectful, logical way, thoughtful way, as Sparta has and others have, and we can engage. And, that is basically what I'm trying to do here with everybody that likes to watch the Canadiens, talk about the Canadiens, and consume Canadiens content. I like good conversation. I like healthy debate on the respectful level, and you guys bring it every single week. Thank you for making this so much better. Mark, I'm glad Dobish didn't have to face that onslaught. He'll fare much better against the Rangers, who have struggled to score lately. The Rangers are coming off a 1-0 win on Saturday. And it's just my read, okay? And I'll stand by it. I wanted Sam Montembeault to play in Utah, in Dallas, and against New York Rangers. So I had him playing Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. I really wanted Jakub Dobish against the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'm not saying that if you listen to me, Canadiens win that game. It's not what I'm saying. But the reason why I like the Jakub Dobish in Toronto is attitude, is belief, is tell me you don't think I could do this. And that's how Jakub Dobish comes across to me. As, oh yeah, you don't think so? Cool, hold my beer. That's how it comes across to me. And he really reminds me of Patrick Waugh. The attitude part, how he talks. Even after he beat Washington in Washington on Friday night, and he was asked by Martin McGuire on the French side about, all your games have been on the road. What's it like on the road? And his answer was along the lines of, dude, we play at the Bell Center. It's the best, most passionate, badass arena in hockey. That arena better prepares us to play in a hostile environment more than anything else. And there was something about that answer. It's like, dude, what? You haven't even played at the Bell Center. Like, what are you talking about? And it was just that belief, and not saying it like with this immature voice. Like, he said it in a way that made me believe him, and I believe him. And so it's part of how I am as a sports guy. I like sink or swim. I like, you want a challenge? Bro, I'll give you the challenge. Go do it. I am your fan. I want you to succeed. I'm not giving you the challenge because I think you're going to fail. I'm going to give you the challenge because I believe in you. Go out and do it, So that was the angle I was coming at you from last week when I gave you my splits. And I don't believe we're in goalie controversy territory today. But listen, if Jakub Dobish pitches a shutout against the Rangers, hold my beer. I guess maybe we are in goalie controversy land. Great to see. Thank you so much for loading up the tip jar today, doing these live streams. Aces Cafe, Charlottetown Spud. Charles, proud member of the Shaun Starr Show. Thank you so much. Sparta's going to relax now on Sam Montembeault. You see? Good, healthy conversation. Good, healthy conversation where we can see differing points of view. It doesn't always have to be doomsday, end of days, John Anderson, one period does not a victory make, everyone. The team shares the blame for the loss to Toronto. They better put in a better effort today, says John Anderson. And I think I'm comfortable giving the Canadiens the benefit of the doubt, John and everyone else, that they have earned that benefit. They have earned for us to look at the Rangers at 7 o'clock on Sunday night and say, okay, I expect, because you've done it before, now you're going to do it tonight. So I don't disagree with that perspective. A quick check-in on the Canadian standings. If you're a little bit out of the loop this morning, let me get you the Canadian standings here. Toronto Maple Leafs have won 2 in a row, 7 of their last 10, 60 points. Florida, kind of coolish, 57 points. They picked up a big win yesterday. The Lightning have won back-to-back. They now have 53 points. And as we move down to the wild card situation, the best team in hockey is the Columbus Blue Jackets. And by best team in hockey, I should mean storyline, with the tragedy of the Goudreau brothers losing their life thanks to a moron drunk driver. And the Blue Jackets 7-2-1 in their last 10, but are coming off a loss. Ottawa, on that crazy 6-5 shootout win over Boston yesterday afternoon, are in the second wild card. The Bruins with 50 wins, but they have with 50 points, but Boston has 22 wins with 2 more games played than Ottawa. Montreal with 45 games and 48 points, but the same amount of wins as the Boston Bruins, also with 2 fewer games played than the Ottawa Senators. Back to the chat quickly here. Ari suggests a bad game for Hudson. I didn't think Lane Hudson had his best game. Picked up an assist on the first goal of the night, so his point streak continues and his point total continues to go up. But I'd be lying to you if I didn't think for a second about, okay, what game was that? We're getting close to the 50-game marker. Let's pay attention. Now, this is not me hating, to be clear. Let's pay attention to Lane Hudson's game this week, because there are some that have suggested how hard it is for NCAA players in their first year in the National Hockey League. When they get to the 50, 60-game marker, they tend to hit this wall. So, as Ari points out, I agree, Ari. I didn't think Hudson had his best game. That's okay. It's fine. No panic, obviously. But let's pay attention, a little extra attention, to Lane Hudson's decision-making on the ice this week and moving forward. Back to your comments this morning. Ace's Cafe, the Canadiens suffered the 2-goal curse. Not unusual for a young team. Great point, Ace. Great point, as usual. Lessons to be learned, certainly. Rick Springhetti, good morning, Ricky. 2 somewhat unrelated points. Joshua Ottawa injured on Friday. We mentioned that earlier. Not sure where, but read he may be out for a few weeks. Also, the Shaun Starr page is growing quickly with quality people. Nice to see. Thank you for that. And yes, I have you guys to thank for that. For the Canadiens and how they've been doing. And I'll just repeat myself because you guys are, again, the generosity is off the charts this morning. Thank you so much for all your generosity and the tips to help grow this show after we invested in a whole bunch just to make this page as good as it possibly can be. So it means the world to your loyalty. So thank you again for that. But I'm just trying to build a very positive community that has room for good, healthy debate. That's the ultimate goal here. Good, healthy debate, and we can enjoy Canadiens content together, react, and have a lot of fun doing that. That is the ultimate God's honest truth. Your comments. Thank you. Thanks for all the likes, everybody. Charles says the Four Nations Cup will help recharge Hudson, so he'll hopefully finish strong. Leor says the Canadiens aren't as good as they've been in the last month, but also not as bad as they've been in the first 20 games. They are a bubble team in the mix. Everything is on track and everything is okay. I agree, man. I agree, Leor. Everything's okay. A 3-0 blown lead to the mighty Toronto Maple Leafs in a game. Listen, I was so amped up for this Canadiens regular season game on a Saturday night. I can't even remember the last time I was so excited for a Habs-Leafs Saturday night regular season game. It was the biggest game of the Canadian season, and they came out to a 3-0 lead. Line scoring is like, come on, let's go. The roof on the Bell Center is going to blow off. But it turned into a 7-3 loss, 7 unanswered goals by the Toronto Maple Leafs. Oh, well. On to the New York Rangers tonight. Matt Morneau channel's great. What's better than talking hockey? Yeah, I mean, I love talking hockey. I really do. I love talking hockey with you guys. I love interacting. I love hearing because listen, I mean, I'm on AM local radio, okay? Like I know my place. When I think about celebrities in the real world, you got your A-listers, and then at the bottom you have carnies and AM radio guys. So I know my place. But I'm a fan at the end of the day, and I always will be. I'm in sports media because I was a ginormous sports fan, and that hasn't changed. I tell people all the time, if I worked for Deloitte, I would still be a very passionate Montreal Canadiens fan. Habs will have a 12-day break, as Charles brings up a great point, talking about the break for the Four Nations tournament that starts on February the 12th. How about this? Were you guys aware of this? Let me get your reaction quickly here on the Four Nations, considering that Charles brought it up as it relates to, don't worry about Lane Hudson, NCAA hitting a wall is going to be tired. They're going to have basically 2 weeks off. Oh, excuse me. The Four Nations starts February 12th, right? December the 5th was when Suzuki and Caulfield were left off their respective countries' national teams. Did you know that since that December the 5th marker, the Canadiens have played 19 games since December the 5th? Are you ready for this? Nick Suzuki's got 20 points. Cole Caulfield's got 21. Since December the 5th, when Suzuki and Caulfield were left off their national teams for the Four Nations, they are both better than a point a game. That's not bad. Since December the 5th. So you do the math. That's a pretty damn big sample size if you ask me. So a little bit of fuel to the motivation. And listen, don't panic, Habs fans, because I'm pretty sure of this, that once Olympic hockey comes around and Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield not on Four Nations, this little gimmick tournament that they're having in Montreal with the finale in Boston, when the real tournaments are to be played and Nick Suzuki's playing well, Nick Suzuki will be with Team Canada. But that's how the Four Nations is going on right now. Aces Cafe, how about that Kirby Dach guy? How about that Kirby Dach guy? Aces. I mean, what a beautiful goal he scored yesterday, and he's feeling it too. And, we were talking about this at the beginning of the season on this channel, more or less, right? About how he is the biggest X factor, in my opinion, on the Montreal Canadiens. Because, what if they don't have a number 2 center? What does that mean for the rebuild? What does that mean for the Montreal Canadiens timeline? What does that mean for their depth? And, yeah, to see someone like Kirby Dach find a groove, Patrick Laine's insertion into the Canadiens lineup has meant so much. And that it's not a coincidence. It's a direct connection. Patrick Laine here, Kirby Dach better, Canadiens winning, Canadiens more balanced. Leor in the chat, tonight's game matters more considering the race against the Rangers is much tighter. Listen, there is part of me where the New York Rangers are a legitimate Stanley Cup contending team. At least we thought at the beginning of the season. So I almost have this golf match play approach to the New York Rangers. Right? And hear me out. This is my logic, okay? The New York Rangers have 47 points after 47 games, 1 point back of Montreal, with both teams having the same amount of wins and the same games played. So massive game tonight, as Leor points out. But if you ever play golf, you ever play competitive golf in a match play environment where, let's say, you're playing a good game, but one of your opponents he's having a day. And he makes a couple of birdies, and he's 2 or 3 up on you in a match play. Let him go. Stop worrying about him. Focus on the other guys that maybe you're ahead of or maybe you're tied with, right? Let that guy who's having a day, let him go. Forget about him. There's part of me that thinks that way about the Rangers. That as crap as they've been, I'm like, I expect you guys to be better, and I don't even really want to think about you. Just go. Just go do your thing. Maybe my way of thinking is flawed because the Flyers have 48 points. The Flyers have won 2 in a row. Boston has 50 points. They've won 3 of 7. What the hell's going on with the Boston Bruins? Ottawa's been a little bit more consistent. The Detroit Red Wings have been blistering hot, even though they're coming off a loss. What about Pittsburgh? They have 2 wins in their last 10, and Tristan Jarry's not a Penguin. So, like, part of me thinks, let the Rangers go. Let them go. Massive game tonight. Montreal and New York on TSN 690 at 7. Rick Springhetti, Habs went on a bit of a run after getting smoked 9-2 against Pittsburgh. Maybe another one begins tonight from your lips. Down south says it's a learning curve. It was necessary in the grand scheme of things. They beat the top-tier teams and not with smoke and mirrors. That said, they will rebound tonight. Let's go down south. And yes, the Montreal Canadiens went through the gauntlet, but you remember, as I told you, they beat the who's who of the National Hockey League. The only team they didn't run into were the bleeping Toronto Maple Leafs. And then they did. Steph Howard, I appreciate how the Canadiens have done, but the reality is they were a top 5 pick team the last 3 seasons. The bottom will fall out a few more times this year, and this is normal. So I appreciate all of this season. And listen, yeah, maybe, but maybe not. Maybe this team has guts. Maybe this team wants it bad. And maybe Marty is right. Martin St. Louis is right that these guys can self-correct. And they lost 1 game. And they had a 3-0 lead in that game. I get it. It sucks. It hurts. It stings. Let's see the rebound tonight against the New York Rangers. Because what if they beat the Rangers? Is the bottom still going to fall out a bunch of times? Are we going to reference the top 5 picks the last 3 years? Like, you have no idea how great it is, in my opinion, in terms of a vibe check, for us to talk about who are the Canadiens going to play in the first round. Oh, the Canadiens are in the mix. I would much rather be doing this than talking about the bleeping draft in July and who the Canadiens should be targeting. Like, I don't care. I don't care. I care about the Canadiens being competitive, being in the mix, playing games that matter. That's what I care about. So, no. I think the Canadiens have shown us that they can prevent the bottom from falling out a bunch of times, and they can play meaningful hockey in March like I want them to. Sparta says Heineman is really missed on that 4th line. No kidding, Sparta. That's a great take. Emil Heineman, man, with 10 goals, the chemistry with Armia. Zeph says that Jake Evans has not gotten a point in his last 10. You sign him now or you will overpay. Zeph, I think the Canadiens were overpaying for Jake Evans no matter what. Like Pierre LeBrun reporting that if the player and the team want to get together, they both might have to agree to deals that make them a little uncomfortable. And I thought Jake Evans had a strong game yesterday. I always look at Jake Evans through this lens. If Evans gets points, unbelievable. If he doesn't get points, how hard is he working? And is he great shorthanded? And to me, I thought he worked his ass off Saturday, and I thought he was good shorthanded. So I was good with that. Zeph wants the team. He wouldn't mind seeing the Canadiens lose a few games and end up with a top 10 pick in the draft. Really? Really? How many of you feel that way, truly? How many of you feel that way? You want to see the team maybe lose a couple of games and have a top 10 pick in July 2025. I don't feel that way at all. I don't. And I don't know enough about the draft because I just finished saying how much I don't really care about it that much. And I believe in this core. I believe in this group. I believe in the nucleus of Cole Caulfield and Nick Suzuki and Patrick Laine and now Kirby Dach in that mix. I believe in Caden Gooley. I like Mike Matheson. I like Arbor Jackeye running the clown Ryan Reeves over. I love the Jackeye swag when Ryan Reeves wants to fight and Jackeye waves him off, says, "Get out of here," and then points to the scoreboard. I love that attitude, and I don't want them to lose. I believe in Owen Beck. I believe in Logan Mailloux. I believe in Jared Davidson. I believe in Michael Hage. I believe in Oliver Kapanen. I believe in David Reinbacher. I believe in Jakub Dobeš and Jacob Fowler. I believe the Montreal Canadiens have guys on the come-up. Ivan Demidov? Anybody? No. I want this team to win games. I want them to play meaningful games later this season. So when then Demidov gets here, boom, boom, boom. Merci, salut, la visite. Ça commence. La Coupe Stanley, Carlis. That's what I'm looking for. I'm not talking about frickin' draft in July top 10. Strongly disagree, Zeph. Strongly disagree, but I love your perspective. Way to go, brother. Way to go. Way to stick your neck out there. And Zeph's taking a little bit of a beating in the chat now. You know? Not really a good draft in my opinion, says Sparta. Let's see what else. I trust this management team to select a good player, says Zeph as reacts. Zeph, great suggestion. Simon Nemec. Looks like there's some back and forth there regarding Nemec with New Jersey and the feel of being on a young team. And where is his rightful place on that young team? And I don't think the Canadiens are in the business of the Simon Nemec personally, because I think when we look at the fact that Logan Mailloux, Adam Engstrom playing some good hockey in Laval too, the price that they're going to have to pay. But listen, if the rumors are true and that New Jersey on this last week, the Devils are in the mix for Jake Evans. How bad do you want Jake Evans, New Jersey? Let's talk about that. Shaun, I could take care of myself. Zeph, you're damn right you can take care of yourself. You're a grown man. Steph Howard, good morning. I am willing to keep Dvorak for 2 more years. I'm not so sure about that. Aces Cafe, the guy I've gained the most respect for is Martin St. Louis. I'm a huge, like you, Ace, I'm a huge MSL guy. I just love the breath of fresh air that he is on this Montreal Canadiens team. Come on, guys. Nemec for Evans isn't happening. Hughes is good, but he's not that good. I mean, obviously, it would never. Listen, the Vancouver Canucks allegedly said no thanks, but no thanks. 1-for-1. JT Miller for Mika Zibanejad. Jake Evans is never going to get Simon Nemec to come to Montreal. Full stop. That's never going to happen. A 28-year-old rental, unrestricted free agent. That's never going to happen. Ever, 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 ever. But the Canadiens have plans. The Canadiens have invested time and money into players, particularly Logan Mailloux, who I think one of the big reasons Logan Mailloux wasn't called up and they traded for Alex Carrier was because Mailloux's defensive game isn't NHL ready. From what I understand, everything else about Logan Mailloux's game is NHL ready. Draco says, Shaun, do I think it's possible for the Canadiens to make the playoffs 25-12 over their last 37 to get to 98 points? Listen, we all know it's going to be an extreme uphill climb because you don't really have to go that far to look at the Canadiens' schedule and where they are schedule-wise and what that means for, to Draco's point, like, what are the Canadiens going to do knowing that they have another unbelievably difficult schedule coming up? Have you seen the Canadian schedule? Let's transition over quickly before I get to the NFL picks. So Rangers tonight, Lightning at home Tuesday. On the road at Detroit, Thursday at 7. Home to the Devils, home to the Jets, home to the... Oh my God. Look at those 5 home games. Rangers, Lightning, Devils, Jets, Wild. And the Red Wings sandwiched in between? Yikes. So, yes, the percentage-wise, it's going to be tough. But that's why we encourage fight. It's why we encourage competition. It's why we want to see those markers of fight, of heart, of desire, professional pride. You know, when the odds are against you, what are you going to do about that? How will you react to outside influence, outside noise saying, you guys got to go 25-12 down your final 37 games. I don't think you could do it. How will the leadership react to a statement like that? And I look for those markers because, you know, as Draco points out, he's right. It's a tough mathematics. It's tough. George, the beatdown from the Leafs was a good thing. Brings back everyone down to earth. The Canadiens are somewhere between the bottom five and the heater they're currently on. Keep the rebuild going. Thank you, George. Good comment. Charles, Mayu has had a rough game last night. On for all the goals against. Yeah, I understand, but he also played very well on Friday. And, Connor Hughes Saturday night. You had Caden Primo Friday. Laval had, before losing to Utica in the home and home, Laval had points in 5 or 6 consecutive games? So Owen Beck's been playing very well. Joshua Waugh got hurt on Friday. He could be out for a while, the leading point getter for the Laval Rocket. But look who else is heating up for Laval. Let me take you over there quickly to see what's going on with the Laval Rocket. Here they are. Joshua Waugh, 27 points. ABB, Alex Barré-Boulet with 27. Owen Beck with 25 and 9 goals. Jared Davidson with 24 points and 14 goals. Logan Mailloux with 18 points. Your leading defenseman with Adam Engstrom with Mailloux on 6 goals. Audio Murphy suggests the Canadiens need a young Shea Weber like a Logan Mailloux. And so, yeah. So, a busy week for the Montreal Canadiens. A big thank you again for all the generosity. You see that little dollar sign next to the chat box. Thank you, Aces Cafe, and everybody else for your generosity, for your investment into the Shaun Starr Show. As I continue to invest in this product to just make it better, more rounded for everybody else. And welcome to all the new members of the Shaun Starr community as we build a very positive, welcoming, engaged community between all of us here with respectful conversations as we've had here. Not everybody, I don't want this, and I never want this to be an echo chamber. What you say is what I agree to. What I say is what you agree with. No, like Zeph bringing up good points about wanting to see the Canadiens maybe lose a couple of games. Steph Howard talking about players that he wants to see back, like a Christian Dvorak, and people don't necessarily agree with that. That's what this is about. It's about creating and fostering an engaged community where we can be respectful, but not always see things eye to eye. So I'm glad that we're able to kind of do this together. I appreciate it greatly. So that takes me to the final portion of this live stream on this Sunday. So thank you so much for being with me, and thank you for all your generosity today. Let's wrap up the Shaun Starr Show Sunday live stream with my NFL picks against the spread. Now, yesterday on the live stream, I was able to give you 2 winners. We got the Houston Texans plus the points. Kansas City wins by 9. Thank you so much. We like the Washington Commanders to win the game outright and for the game to go over the posted total. That happened. If you didn't Commanders because you didn't think they could pull off the upset, I don't blame you. So we told you to take the 8.5 points. So all that to say, if you followed my NFL picks yesterday, I gave you nothing but winners. Can that continue today with the NFL divisional round starting at 3 o'clock with the LA Rams at 10-7? They went 5-3 on the road against the mighty Philadelphia Eagles at 14-3, 8-1 home record. And then the primetime game, the game of the year in the NFL, the Baltimore Ravens at the Buffalo Bills. So what do I think happens tonight? Obviously, we are going to start with the early game, the 3 o'clock game that pits the 4-seeded Rams at the 2-seeded Philadelphia Eagles. Now, LA, of course, got stuck playing in that stupid Monday night game in the wild card round, and now they got to travel, short week, and they got to make their way out to Philadelphia to play that game. So that's a tough one. Now, Saquon Barkley had himself a day in the wild card round, and he is obviously one of the heartbeats of the Philadelphia Eagles. And if Saquon Barkley can find himself in the realm of like they did when these two teams met back in week 12, the Rams looked like they were trying to tackle a bus. In that week 12 game, Barkley ran for 255. The Eagles as a team ran for 314. If Barkley gets near 200 yards today, it's Eagles all day, every day. But he might have a difficult time getting there because that Rams defense have stepped up their game in a massive way since Saquon ran them over in Week 12. Since that loss, the Rams are giving up about 104 yards against per game since Saquon ran them over. And so that's why the LA Rams are a different team. It's why they deserve a little bit more of your respect. They have also been able to do a good job in 4 of their last 5 games anyway, keeping their opposition to single-digit points. The only time a team scored more than 10 points on them was Week 18 when the Rams rested their starters. So as good as the Eagles have been, and they are the best defensive team in football, they have been on an unbelievable run. They're playing at home. I'm basically selling you on the LA Rams because the Eagles are phenomenal. And their defense is so good. It is so good. During they gave up the fewest yards and the second fewest points per game. They beat up everybody. If they can get after Matthew Stafford, it's going to be a long game. And when Matthew Stafford gets sacked, the Rams don't do well. He doesn't do well. LA is 1-5 when Matthew Stafford is sacked at least 3 times. So with both defenses playing so well, I think this comes down to which offense I believe I trust more going into this game. Right now, I believe I trust the LA Rams offense a little bit more. Now, it's going to be bleeping cold in Philadelphia, and that might be a problem. And it could be a close football game, which I think it will be. So we're going to take the points, and I will call for another upset. The Eagles are favored by 6.5 points. I like the LA Rams plus 6.5. I would also sprinkle a little something on the LA Rams to win this game outright. The chat coming in this morning. Steph Howard, my Bills take out Jackson. This is like the sun going down for me every day. Josh Allen is the best quarterback in the playoffs who has not won a Super Bowl yet. So, Steph Howard, let's talk about your vaunted Buffalo Bills. 13-5 Ravens at the 14-4 Buffalo Bills. MVP showdown, Lamar versus Josh. Lamar set an NFL career postseason record for rushing yards by a quarterback. And he was great in the wild card round on Saturday. And both quarterbacks are playing obviously so well. I think they're playing so well, it's going to come down to who else on either side. Almost like a math equation. Maybe these Allen Jackson cancel each other out. So since week 14, the Ravens have played 5 games. They've surrendered an average of 11.4 points per game, which includes, by the way, holding the Houston Texans to 0 points in week 17. Houston scored 2 points in the game, but it came on a safety, if you remember. The Ravens defense, by the way, also held the Bills to 10 points in week 4. So they have that comfort level and that confidence that they've done this before. And that was Buffalo's lowest scoring output of the season. I even remember the Bills benched Josh Allen in the 4th because they knew at that point this game is over. It's out of reach. We just don't have it. In comes Mitch Trubisky, baby. So, and I understand, in that meeting in week 4, Buffalo had a few players that were out for injury. Teron Johnson, Terrell Bernard, Matt Milano, and they're back, and it's going to help the defense. And that's good news for the Bills, obviously. So this is going to be a tough one to predict. And, I don't know who's going to win the NFL MVP. Personally, for my call, I would give it to Lamar Jackson. And Lamar and the Ravens have been undefeated. And they lost to they lost to the Eagles in week 13, right? I'm going off memory now. And Lamar Jackson has been possessed. He looks calm. He looks poised. And here's the trend that I just absolutely love. Okay, because I'm taking the Ravens. I love the Ravens to win this game. I like this game to go over the total. Know this, since 2022, home teams in the divisional round have gone 6-2 in the playoffs in this spot. Okay? Home teams in the playoffs have gone 6-2 in the divisional round. Home teams went 1-1 yesterday. The Lions obviously losing as the 1 seed and Kansas City winning. So now we're 7-3 since 2022. 2 of those 3 losses were by the Buffalo Bills. So history not on their side, pressure, expectations. I think Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens, to me, are a little bit more trustworthy in managing the pressure and the expectations. I'm not there with Buffalo. And for that reason, I like this game to be high scoring, and I like the Ravens to win. So there you go. Those are my NFL picks. Calling for the LA Rams. Take the 6.5 points. If not, I like them to win the game outright if you want to be a little ballsy, a little gutsy on the money line. And I like the Baltimore Ravens as road favorites to go to Buffalo in a high-scoring game, so take the over there. And let's play the Ravens to win this game over Buffalo. I'm sorry. Don't take it personally. I don't mean to offend you. I don't hate your favorite NFL team. I promise you that. I don't hate your NFL team. It's just I'm calling it like I see it. As a Lions fan, I can attest to the fact that Stafford doesn't play that well in the cold. Good call, Brad. And so that's it. Thank you so much for being a part of the Sunday live stream. It was a great episode today, and thank you so much for being a part of this. Enjoy the NFL action. Enjoy the Montreal Canadiens and the New York Rangers. By the way, I do think the Montreal Canadiens bounce back and beat the New York Rangers, a much tighter Habs game. That's what I think happens from the Montreal Canadiens side of things today. I think they play a much tighter, closer to home, closer to the type of team and the type of game that they want to play. That's what I could see happening with the Montreal Canadiens against the New York Rangers on TSN 690. Okay, so thank you so much for being a part of the live stream. One last check-in on the chat as we could get going here. And you guys have been great. Just fill in the chat with all your tips, all your generosity, and all your conversation. Don't forget, I will be here live on Monday morning to react to the Montreal Canadiens, and we've got lots coming up on the channel this week. We'll dive into the Laval Rocket. We'll talk about a goalie controversy, and we'll talk about some trades. What does Yoel Armia's game mean to the Montreal Canadiens? How valuable is he? So that's all coming up this week on the Shaun Starr Show. Thank you, everybody, for being such a valuable part of this program. I couldn't have done it without you. So thank you, everybody. And don't forget to join me live right here